Taylor Sheridan's name is likely to become synonymous with westerns as a genre due to his unstoppable success. He has already achieved great success with Yellowstone, and now has major plans to bring the Dutton family saga to life with 1923. In this video, we'll provide all the exciting details about 1923 that we have learned directly from Ford and Mirren, as well as discussing everything you need to know about the upcoming series. First up, Yellowstone's like a Russian doll of family stories. Sheridan's Paramount Plus hit was released in 2018 and is currently in its 5th season. The show introduced us to the Duttons, who have got a very interesting past. The story of Yellowstone has become so expansive that it has essentially become its own universe. Like a Russian doll, each Dutton saga contains another significant story within it, and Sheridan plans to tell all of these stories to their conclusion and into the past. The first spin-off of Yellowstone was a prequel series titled 1883, which was released in 2021 and became an instant hit. It follows the Dutton family's original journey to find land in Montana. Now we've got another story of the Duttons toughing it out in the American West. It's called 1923 and features Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren as the central Dutton couple. The previous teaser trailer portrayed it as another prequel that's going to bring up some dark stories about the past, giving us more insight into the family and characters we see in Yellowstone. Next up, here's what the leading stars of the show have got to say about 1923. We're excited to have Mirren and Ford guiding us into Sheridan's universe. Their presence adds even more credibility and excitement to the experience. During the show's 1923 premiere at the Hollywood American Legion Post 43, the two megastars teased us a little about what we could expect from the show. And the details are juicy, y'all. That's not us hyping stuff up. That's the word Ford himself used. According to Mirren, the two portray a couple with a long relationship history. She explained that the dynamic on set is a partnership due to the amount of time they've spent working together rather than a traditional husband and wife dynamic. This unique environment is influenced by the current times and the equality they both bring to their roles. Ford described his character as a rancher in 1923 with a unique personal history and a story of survival that deals with themes of morality. In order to survive, his character has a rich and eventful past, making for a juicy and engaging story. He added that he is personally very fond of the tale. First up, how close is 1923 to the other Yellowstone prequel? Well, right off the bat, let's state the obvious. This one takes place after all that stuff that went down in 1883, which got super positive reviews and had a really strong story at the heart of it. So, with the stunning pair of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill leading the last prequel, we've already got an amazing origin story for Yellowstone. And here's the thing, in order to justify the need for another one, it's gotta have a tone and objective very different from the one that came before. Otherwise, what would be the point? Sheridan's got it all covered though. See, in 1883, the Duttons had not yet arrived on their land, so that basically documented the journey, the trials, hardship, and sheer brute strength it took to even get there in the first place. In 1923, it's all about doing whatever it took to protect that land. Also, in this adaptation, we'll also get to see the struggles of the time as well, which we all know were absolutely unique as far as the history of the US goes. There's the drought, prohibition, and the Great Depression. Yeah, it might make you think about your middle school history teacher for a minute too. Ultimately, 1923 will explore how such historical conditions, coupled with extremities, will play out. James and Kara are shown to be ready for war when it comes to standing their ground, even in the tough conditions they're living in. Moving on, let's talk about the 1923 plot. Just to put the timeline in context, 1923 takes place about 35 years before the birth of Yellowstone's patriarch, John Dutton III. According to the official description put out, 1923 depicts the next 2 generations of the Dutton family as they try to survive a historic drought, a cattle theft epidemic, and the lawlessness of the time of Prohibition. This all takes place against the Great Depression as it hit Montana. The interesting thing here is that Montana saw the effects of the terrible time about 10 years before the rest of the nation. Like the other 2 offshoots of Sheridan's imagination, this one will have its fair share of violence too. We're probably also going to see the conflict between indigenous tribes and the Duttons play out as well. We know that by now this is a theme close to the showrunner's heart, and he often incorporates the emotional and thematic tensions arising from it. Originally, it was put out that the show would be called 1932, but it was later changed to capture the correct social and political atmosphere. So Prohibition itself can't be the focus, since Montana was the first to abolish it in 1926. But now, because of the change, the series is closer to the First World War, which will probably contribute to the complexity of the characters involved. The bottom line is that this show is going to be about how the Duttons face the setbacks that came reclaim their way to protect their land. Coming up next, Ford and Mirren's views about 1923's setting and premise. In an exclusive interview with Vanity Fair, Harrison Ford shared some information about the Dutton family's challenges in 1923. According to Ford, they face physical challenges and challenges related to their way of life as they navigate modernity and confront new social and economic pressures. These challenges threaten their freedom and way of life on their land. Ford also pointed out the fact that the family in 1923 isn't exactly wealthy like we saw it in Yellowstone. He said that Kara and Jacob's power comes from their history and hard work, so he doesn't see the couple as rich. He also raised a very important point about the Duttons that seems true for 1923 as well. They haven't always followed a moral code where the wrong and the right were easy to separate. The actor further clarified that the Duttons would be up against the changing cattle business, weather, economy, and the invasion of railroads. This makes it a time when all they earn goes right back into the land to keep things afloat, so it's a cash-poor situation. Mirren called the prequel a real investigation of American history. What's more, let's talk about the 1923 trailer. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the trailer for 1923. It introduces the characters and sets the tone for the show, showcasing scenes from the First World War, gunfights, and characters with firearms. From the trailer, it's clear that the show will not be a peaceful watch, but that's part of what makes it so intriguing. Now for the cast members, and you already know two of them. Helen Mirren plays the character of Kara. According to the actor, Kara's background is that she most likely left Ireland to come to the US because of the potato famine in the 19th century. She's got an Irish accent to reflect that, remaining true to the background. See, that's the sort of commitment someone like Mirren brings to a project. It was her that insisted that the accent was necessary. Alongside her, Harrison Ford plays her husband, Jacob. Joining the two is someone you all might recognize from the Game of Thrones. Jerome Flynn's in the show as Banner Creighton, who's a stubborn Scottish tough guy who also leads all the sheepmen. Sheepmen in the show are the rivals of the Duttons, tied by the land their cattle graze on. Each is, of course, willing to fight for the land's rights. Also, Robert Patrick from Terminator 2 and Sons of Anarchy will appear as Sheriff William McDowell, who's a friend and ally of the central couple. Other than this, James Badge Dale stars as John Dutton Sr. Marley Shelton portrays Emma Dutton. Brandon Sklenner is Spencer Dutton. Darren Mann is Jack Dutton. Timothy Dalton appears as Donald Whitfield. Jennifer L. plays the role of Sister Mary. Michelle Randolph is brought to life by Elizabeth Strafford. Brian Garrity depicts the character named Zane. Julia Schlafer personifies Alexandra. Amina Neves appears as Tiana Rainwater. And Sebastian Roche has also been cast in an unnamed role. Next up is the synopsis of the first episode. That's already out. The official plot details say that in the first episode, Jacob puts an end to a dispute between the sheep herders and the cattle ranchers. Meanwhile, Kara explains the sacrifice of marrying into the Dutton family to Liz, and we find another Dutton wandering very far from their home. Further, has 1923 got the potential to be even better than 1883? The thing is that the timeline of 1923 allows for pretty complex storytelling. It can be argued that its premise combines the best features of both Yellowstone and 1883 because it's midway between the two in terms of the timeline. Plus, they've got great star power backing the show, and that could really make a lot of difference too. Finishing up with all you need to know about watching 1923. The first episode of the show is already out. It was released on the 18th of December 2022 in the US and the 19th of December in the UK and Australia. There's going to be a total of 8 episodes in the series. As more episodes are released, they'll be available on Paramount+. If you become a fan of the show, you'll be pleased to know that it will return for a second season with an additional 8 episodes. Happy watching! And that's all for today from our side. Do you think 1923 is going to live up to the hype? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.